First, using a light brown, I painted a rough outline of where I wanted my design to go, and I focused mainly around my eye area. Then I filled in the shapes I'd made with a pale metallic silver. Now I wanted the colour to really stand out, so I made sure that my brush was well loaded, and I wasn't particularly careful when painting over the edges, but I did leave a clear space around my eye. Next, I took black on a very thin brush and roughly outlined the outside edge of the silver. Then, whilst the black was still wet and using only water on my brush, I blended the two colours together to create a strong shadow. I continued this in small sections until I'd outlined the entire design. You don't want to make the sections too big or they'll dry before you've got a chance to blend them out. I used the same black to outline my eye area, and once I had the shape down, I filled in the whole eyelid, taking the paint right up to my lash line. I also used a black gel liner on my waterline to remove any flesh tones. Next, I started to add the details to my robot. I painted a second edge around my eye, being very careful to keep my line work thin and neat. Then, just like before, I blended the outside edge into the silver. From the bottom of the eye section, I painted a curved line headed downwards. I then added a second line right next to the first and blended away the edges. And I also went in and added some panels in the top section. To make it look a bit more realistic, I made sure that a couple of the lines continued through two different sections of the design, as if the panels were joined underneath the skin. I then went round and added a bit more shading on a couple of different areas to try and give the robot some dimension. For the screws, I simply painted a black circle with a line through the centre. For some reason, I decided to make my screws smaller as I went, but you could keep them all the same size if you wanted. Next, I changed to a white paint and I added some highlights around my design. I tried to keep them all on the top part of each section so that it looked like a light was coming down from above and shining on the metal. Now you could choose to finish here, but I wanted to make my robot look a little more 3D, so I used derma wax to create the illusion of torn skin. I stuck small sections of the wax around my design, but I didn't use it over the whole outline, just in the more prominent areas. Using a plastic modelling tool and some thick moisturising cream, I blended only the outside edges into my skin. The cream helps to get the wax nice and smooth, and it also prevents it from sticking to the modelling tool and pulling away. Once the edges were blended in, I used a baby wipe to remove any leftover cream on my skin, and it also helped to take away any shine. I went back in with my black to add a bit more shadow and depth to the sections that now had the wax over them. And then I changed to a red paint and very roughly added some colour to the inside edges of the wax. On the sections that I had kept wax free, I painted a thin wash of red that I then smudged in with my finger, and this helped make my skin look sore and irritated. And then I did the same thing with black to try and make my skin appear burnt and dirty. The final step is to add some fake blood. I used my brush to apply a small amount around the edge of my design. And the nice thing about this blood is that it dries shiny, so unlike paint, it still looks wet even if you're wearing it all day. I didn't go overboard with the blood as I thought it might take away from some of the detail. And that's it, a super cool robot. You could of course add a red contact lens to finish it off, or if like me you didn't have any, you could add a red laser eye in Photoshop. Thank you for watching guys, and I'll see you again next time.